Hey, good evening, guys. This is Nathan Pennington from RunDreamAchieve.com. I had a question that one of my subscribers left on one of my videos. Tom, I appreciate your question. What are some of the marathon mistakes that I made over the years? Yes, I made plenty, um, but I would think some of the biggest ones that I made for sure was uh, being far too aggressive early on in the race, which cost me obviously later on in the race. I went out way too fast in a lot of marathons trying to be, you know, obviously it's a mistake we all make. We all get hyped up obviously in the early parts of the marathon. But I had numerous marathons where I was trying to break, like I mentioned in other videos, where I was trying to break 2 hours and 22 minutes, but I was still a 2:43 marathoner. So I was trying to be far too aggressive too early when I wasn't really prepared to obviously hold that particular pace. I was able to, go out and maybe hold the pace for. I had times where I was able to hold the pace for like 10 miles to 12 miles, and then the latter stage of the marathon, I would just completely fall apart. Another big mistake I made was I wasn't hydrating well enough in the marathon. I wasn't practicing that in my long runs. Um, I would go out and do 20 to 24 mile long runs without drinking, or if I did drink, it wouldn't be enough. It just was poor hydration practices and training, and that really carried over in the race as well. Um, I think that we're all motivated to run fast and we all want to improve, but those are common mistakes that all athletes, regardless of capability, make. But yeah, those were probably two of the biggest mistakes I made. Um, Going out way too fast, trying to uh, go out at a pace that was too aggressive, but and too early in my career when I wasn't properly trained yet to get to that point. I had a lot of marathons where I was at sub 220 marathon pace through the 20-mile mark, and the last 10K I was just I just fall apart. And a lot of that is trial and error in training. I also was trying to do another mistake I made was um, running high mileage but doing singles rather than doubles. I think that anybody that's run higher mileage, it's very very difficult to get in that type of mileage on single runs. But sometimes we work full time jobs. We're all busy. A lot of folks have children. I don't have kids, but I do. Have all my friends and family have a lot of kids. So trying to balance those things I know is extremely difficult. So, and if you're not a morning person either, you're not a morning athlete, it's very difficult to get up early. That's definitely me. But yeah, those are some of the big mistakes I made, uh, and also focusing too much on what the other athletes that were running the types of times that I wanted to run earlier in my career for the marathon, just getting caught up in um, what they were running and not focusing on my main objective. I think you know, we get caught up with that sometimes. That's not. Um, it's normal to see other athletes and wonder what it is they're doing to run as fast as they're running. Um, but at the end of the day, it comes down to what we're doing, and we need to focus on our objective, and we need to focus on our training, and just disregard what other athletes are doing. It's important in terms of finding out what type of training strategy, how they're setting up their training. That part of it is important, but worrying so much about have I, you know, have I trained properly enough in training? Uh, what if they make a move in the race and I'm not able to react? It's all these what ifs that we worry about. I did a lot of that earlier in my career as well. I think as you get fitter and you get more confident, then you can go out in the race and you can make those big moves and you can succeed. I had a lot of marathons where I tried to make the big moves and I just simply wasn't prepared or wasn't ready at that time to make that next big jump. I mean, like I said in other videos, I felt a lot of times. My debut marathon was a 2:43:36 at the 2002 New York City Marathon. Um, it was a charity run. We started in last place, so we were in 32,189th place. For every runner that we passed, Chase Manhattan Bank was donating $1 to lung cancer research. So I thought it was a great cause, and the military was uh, paying for us to stay in New York City at the Plaza Hotel for a full week. So obviously it was a great opportunity that I couldn't pass up. So I didn't know how to run the marathon. Um, I still remember the first mile was in 16 minutes flat, and again, we weren't permitted to start the race until every runner had crossed the start line. So, long story short, I finished as top runner on the team and finished in 257th place from 32,189th in 2:43:36. But I learned in that race as well. Numerous marathons I've had. I think I've run 14 total, and I've had numerous marathons where I just ran out of energy. I wasn't taking in enough fluids in the race. I wasn't taking in any gels, any type of any calories whatsoever. As you know, if you take two of those gels, maybe around mile 12 or 13, and then mile 17 or 18, that's like an additional 300 calories, 350 calories around that range. Um, that, along with hydrating right in the race, is going to really help you improve. Whereas in the past, I would be sipping, I would just grab a couple Dixie cups and take a couple sips. I wasn't hydrating, I wasn't taking enough fluid, and that really cost me. Uh, you know, other mistakes I made is training too hard, running too fast on easy days. That's why I always stress the importance now. After running a few marathons and trying to figure out what it is I was doing that wasn't getting me the results that I wanted, I figured out one, obviously, back off on those easy days. If it's a recovery day that's called on, make sure you're jogging. I mean, I've run with 2:10, 2:11 marathoners, world class Kenyan and American marathoners that can go out and run, close to or below sub 5 minute mile pace, but they go out on their easy days and they're running 8 to 9 minute mile pace. I mean, just relax, real nice, easy pace. They don't get upset if they have a bad race. It's short. If they do, it's very, very short lived. Um, I think that's probably another mistake I made too. Just stressing over running. It's not the end. It's not the be all end all. It's not the only thing in our lives. And I know we're all competitive and we all want to do great and we all want to succeed. But um, if we have a bad race or we don't perform up to standard, it's not the end of the world. I mean, there's other more important things in the world like family and our health. Um, being able to travel, the things we take for granted, our eyesight and our health. So I was doing a lot of that too. Like I said, I didn't just get to 219. There were a lot of failures, and not so much even failures now that I look back. I mean, we say they're failures if we don't meet our time goal, but those learning those mistakes that we make along the way really help us, and that helped me along the way to get to the point where I was able to, eventually get under 235, and then under 232, and then sub 230, and then sub 220. The marathon I've really only, in my opinion, got out of the 14 that I've run so far. I've only gotten one right perfectly, almost perfectly, and that was when I ran 219. The 226, I ran 226:42 at the 2011 Monumental Indianapolis Marathon, and that particular race would have been a faster time, maybe around 222 or 223, but I had to jump in a porta-john. So another mistake, maybe just watching what you're taking in prior to the race. It's hard to get everything perfectly right all the time, but I had to jump in a porta-john. I was running with the leaders, two Kenyan guys and a couple guys from the United States, and so I lost time on that, but I still finished fifth and my second fastest marathon. So yeah, it's don't at least for me, this is just me speaking. The mistakes that I've made. Um, definitely focus on what you're doing on those recovery days, how fast you're running, Start practicing ingesting more calories and taking in more fluids on your long runs. I advise drinking about every 3 miles if you can. Put one of those gels in your shorts and then put one near one of the water bottles at the latter stage of your long run, and practice taking in those calories and grabbing the bottle and holding the bottle while you're running. If you look at all the best marathoners, uh, they're sitting there, they grab their bottles and they're sitting there for about a half mile, 400 meters to a half mile, around that range, with their bottle still in their hand, drinking. I think a lot of times runners, including myself, because I've had the same concern, they're worried that maybe they'll drink too much and their stomach will get upset. Um, and Those are the things that you can practice in training, get used to it, and then you can find out where you're, uh, around how much you need to be taken in. Everybody's individual, so uh, those are things that we all can work on. So yeah, you mentioned the heat in Florida. Yeah, it's difficult. I had a lot of when I was training down in San Antonio. I was stationed actually down there for 3 years, and I had to spend a lot of time on the treadmill. I don't like treadmill running either, and I'm with you, man. 5 miles seems like a long way, and training on the roads, there just isn't really anything better than it. I mean, can you still get fantastic workouts in and really build up your fitness on the treadmill? Absolutely. I advocate training on the treadmill, especially if it's hot and there's no other. Um, it, if it's 80 to 100 degrees out, and you want to get a solid tempo run in, it's going to be very, very difficult to sustain that type of pace in the heat, in the summer months especially. So, yeah, is the treadmill another alternative? Absolutely. Um, Focus on keeping your incline between 0.5 and 1%. They usually say 1% will equal running outdoors on the flat roads. So, yeah, treadmill training is awesome. But yeah, in terms of some of the mistakes that I've made, Tom, those are definitely my top picks. Trying to be too aggressive too soon, uh, realizing that I was trying to go from 243 to sub 222 in a year, and it actually took me from 2002 to 2007 to finally do it. So in that 5 year block, it took me 5 years to do it. Um, yeah, there's other athletes out there that can do it within a year, especially if they're within range of it or faster than obviously faster than 243. But any runner, regardless of what it is, whether I don't know where you're currently at, whether it's 245, 345, 4 hours, wherever, um, and regardless of distance, taking those big chunks of time definitely takes time. It's not something that we can do quickly, and sometimes it takes much longer than we expect. And that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to go out every marathon I went after, and I was always going after a sub 222. So I'd go out. I remember Chicago, 2007, 3 months prior to running 219 at Sim. I had run I PR'd for the half marathon which is still my PR, 107.06 for the half. And I remember it was 2007 Chicago. It was the hottest temperatures in the history of the event, and I went out and 111 through the half, and I mean I was done. And the problem was the Army World Class Athlete Program, the unit I was a part of at that time, had paid for me to fly out there, and we had put in a lot of work for it. It was just the weather temperatures were kind of out of my control. I will admit I've never performed well really in the heat. I'm a cold weather runner, and it's not an excuse. So there's people that you sometimes you can do all the work perfectly right, and you just land on a day that's like I said, the marathons, as you already know, I'm sure you know if you've run it. A lot of moving pieces. Weather conditions got to be right. I mean, especially to get a personal best. Low wind, fast course, proper hydration, proper sleep. Uh, you know, Preferably if you're a cold weather runner, if you can get a cold day or a cooler day, that obviously helps as well. I've seen some of the top American athletes I've trained with. Dan Brown, for instance, he's ran 2:11 for the marathon. Great athlete. Gilbert Ruto, Daniel Kabungi. Um, these are guys that 2:10, 2:11 marathon guys. Gilbert Ruto was probably one of the toughest trainers I ever trained with and raced against. These guys were just able to hold up in the heat, and like I said, at the end of the day, we're the ones that are in control of our results, and we're also always in control of our thoughts and our attitude. Sometimes it's very easy to get a piss poor attitude and to get upset about not meeting our standards as quickly as we want, and that's definitely a mistake I made. I was trying too hard, trying to drop too much time too soon. So if anything, to answer your question, uh, just the importance of being patient. Uh, I cannot stress that enough. I already know you're highly disciplined, highly focused, driven. Leaving a comment, man, like that, I know you're out there putting in the work. But just keep in mind, man, this is I make mistakes just like everybody else, and I've been running for 27 years. I've had a few decent races. I've had a lot of bad races, and but with that being said, all the bad races, some of the races I didn't perform up to my standard. I learned a lot of things from those experiences, and getting out there and getting my rear end handed to me, and getting not being able to sustain the pace kind of motivated me to step back and say, okay, this did not work. What do I need to do to start seeing some better results in the future? And so I started drinking more in my long runs. I went from, which was another mistake, running my long runs far too slow for too many years. I was trying to go from a 2:43 marathon to break 2:22, and to do that, you're talking going from 6:14 mile pace to 5:25 mile pace. It's a huge drop in time, and there has to be massive action being taken to be able to do that, and that's what I had to change. I had to change from running my long runs at 6:30 to 7-minute mile pace to 5:35 to 5:50 mile pace. I had to get comfortable. I had to get in that being. I had to get comfortable being uncomfortable for long periods of time, and obviously being able to run 16 to 20 miles at that pace at altitude didn't happen overnight either. So um, those are some of the biggest mistakes I made, and I learned from all those mistakes, and that's my honest feedback, Tom. So I wish you the best with your training. Again, just stay consistent. Keep a positive attitude with this. I know, especially in the heat, man, that's tough. I know San Antonio got so hot in the summers, and I spent a lot of time on the treadmill, and I didn't really like it either. I prefer getting out on the roads and getting on the track. But there's some days where you just have to do that, man. There's especially if you got to repeat miles or repeat 2 miles you want to put in, or you want to get a solid tempo run in, and if you go out in the 90 to 100 degree heat, and I know Florida's hot too, so trying to do that in that type of conditions is extremely difficult. So hey man, just hang in there and put in the work which you can on the treadmill. Really focus on running those recovery days really, really easy. So with that being said, I hope that answers your question, and look forward to talking with you soon. Take care.